Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Don's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
Gets better every time. It's like a fine
wine. Yeah, there you go. Jinxed you, bro.
Hey,
Jinxed you. Now you owe me a Coke.
Yo, I got what do you call it? I totally forgot. We forgot to add in our wager for the fight this weekend, man.
We're gonna do that today.
Dude, all right. Just a little reminder, because I know you have a little more freedom on your end. I got people looking at my screen at a beautiful picture of Wiz Khalifa.
Oh, yes.
And I thought, man, I thought we'd change it up. Let's start a little bit different. We've been talking about a lot of negative things. And, rather than just having our intros, I thought we'd have a little quote to help. Well, probably not for this episode, but in future episodes, help drive and be relatable to the rest of the topics we talk about throughout the podcast. So today, I got our boy Wiz. Took his quote from the website AZ Quotes, the nice little site that compiles a bunch of quotes, and said, "Worrying is stupid. It's like walking around with an umbrella, waiting for it to rain." It's deep. It's deep, man. To me, I picked it obviously because there's some shit in my life right now that I can't control.
Right.
But I'm doing what I can, where I can, when I can. Ooh, not 20 decibels. Wherever I can. And why prepare for, or why worry about things that may not even happen? Why worry about things that are out of my control? I'm not strong enough to be carrying extra weight around. I'm heavy enough, dude. I don't need an umbrella. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, Wiz is a wise man.
But I just have to say, I oftentimes try to find different words to use in this quote. And I'm thinking, instead of worrying, what if he said insurance? Just replace the word worrying with insurance and read it out loud.
Insurance is stupid. It's like walking around with an...
Would you agree? Do you agree with that?
Dude, you've been watching too many Chris Paul commercials, man. You gotta stop watching.
State Farm, man. State Farm. By the way, Chris Paul, don't you think he has the best State Farm commercials? Like his twin brother, Cliff Paul.
Oh, I love it.
It's
That's
so
Carlton,
cool.
Isn't it? Carlton from, I don't know if it's the same guy that played Carlton in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm blanking on his name.
Alfonso Ribeiro.
There we go.
So you're right. So as the fans may know already, the State Farm commercials involve these celebrity athletes, right? On the football side, you have Patrick Mahomes, who is the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, and you also have Aaron Rodgers, who's the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers.
For now.
Oh, yes, for now. I'm sure we'll get into that on a future podcast. But, on the basketball side of things, they used to have a lot of, Rockets players and Clippers players all following the pursuits of Chris Paul. I remember DeAndre Jordan might have been a part of it before. Then later on, when Chris Paul was a Rocket, it was him, Harden, and Trevor Ariza. And they were like carpool karaokeing. They were doing all these different things, and it was really entertaining. But then when he went to OKC, they realized, oh, shit, we can't really do it with anybody anymore, at least nobody notable. Don would disagree and say, why not Aquaman? Why not Steven Adams?
Exactly.
I had a feeling. But in this case, he's kind of going solo from the NBA side. However, he does bring on some special people. Like, you remember, Don, you've watched The Office before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you remember
one of the best shows.
I agree. One of my favorite sitcoms, probably my favorite sitcom of all time. But in The Office, in the accounting department, do you remember a guy called Oscar Nunez? Yeah. So before Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Will Smith's cousin, I think, cousin Carlton, it was Oscar from The Office, and he was the agent. It was really, really funny. They would pretty much lay down on the top of the car, and they would look up at the clouds in the sky, and then Chris Paul would be like, "Oh, what does that cloud look like to you? What does that cloud look like to you?" And then the agent would be like, "Oh, it looks like your house, and somebody's burglarizing it right now. I'm so sorry. We have to do something." It was like just really funny, that banter between them. And so the latest one with Alfonso, I think he pretends to be Chris Paul, right? Like he's in his workout clothes and whatnot. Like, I am Chris Paul. I am Chris Paul.
Hey, and I think it's also a little bit of a jab, right? Because it's like low key, like you can't replace Chris Paul wherever he goes. You can't replace what he does for the team.
Right.
You know. So
yeah, it could be a jab against the Rockets. You're right. I think they're probably thinking maybe if we had Chris Paul, we could have lost to the Warriors again in Game 7. Ooh, was that a jab too? Was that a jab from the A, perhaps? And speaking of jabs, though, I say we get right into the UFC 249 because that is something that we will definitely take a look at this weekend, right? That's the
plan.
May 9th.
That's the plan.
May 9th. That's the plan. So I have it open on my side too, and so let's. I think we're only focusing on the main card. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, we were kind of talking about this on a previous episode a little bit. I noticed some of the fighters have changed, but others have not. Yeah, so starting from the very bottom, I think the first heavyweight bout is Greg Hardy versus Yorgan De Castro. And if we look at the tail of the tape, as I summarize for the fans, the records are pretty much the same. Greg Hardy 5-1 with 1 no contest. Yorgan De Castro 5-0. 1 Greg Hardy from the USA and Yorgan De Castro from Cape Verde. I did not know that was a country, but more power to them. The height advantage, very important in fights. Height advantage actually goes to 6'5" Greg Hardy, as opposed to 6'1" Yorgan De Castro. So, this guy, he has some size to him, and also 15 pounds heavier. 265 for Hardy, 250 for De Castro. And what do I always look at after these parameters? The reach. The reach is so important. And I'll get into it a little bit. I think the reach is important because it makes your jab more effective. I think if you have more range to your arms, right, you can keep your opponent at bay and constantly pester them with your jab. So I like my man over here, Greg Hardy, with the 80-inch reach. I got to say, I'm on the UFC website right now, by the way, and I think you are too. The leg reach is a new statistic. I've never seen leg reach listed before in the tail of the tape. But when you think about it, in the UFC, it makes perfect sense. They're kicking half the time. They're doing a lot of leg kicks, kicks to the abdomen and whatnot. So a 44-inch leg reach, I think that's a good thing, but I don't necessarily know if a leg reach, like a differential in leg reach of 4 inches, actually matters that much, because the way you kick is very different from the way you punch, right? So my take is, and I think I already picked this guy last time, I'm going to stick with Greg Hardy. I like him. I think he's going to win this one by, I don't have to call it really, but I'm going to say knockout.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, you want to throw no, let's not make it too much. You're going Greg Hardy, right? That's what you said?
Oh, Greg Hardy, yeah.
Okay. I'm just writing this down, tracking it. Want a little Google Doc really quick? Hey man, so I wanted to make a comment when you were saying reach is really important. Yep, it is, but the longer the arm, the easier it is to catch and get into some locks.
True. I mean, I guess a part of me was still thinking about boxing, because in boxing, you'd probably agree reach is more important than it is in UFC.
Yep.
Because there is no way you can submit your opponent, right?
Yep.
But of course, you can get into a clinch, right? You can get into a clinch and you can do like the dirty boxing where you're really close to the guy, uppercuts and whatnot, maybe some swipes at the back of the head. But you're right. I mean, just because a guy has reach, leg reach, weight, and height advantage does not necessarily mean he's a clear-cut favorite.
Sure.
For all I know, to be honest with you, you may have to look this up, but I thought Greg Hardy was a football player before he joined the UFC. Am I wrong about that? I keep thinking he was. Let me take a quick gander at Wikipedia. Here.
Was he a defensive end?
I think so. Yeah. Former American football defensive end. That's right. For the Dallas Cowboys.
You know what? No, now I'm happy you picked him, dude. See, because that means his body was geared for a sport, and he's always a forward guy, which is fine for pressure situations, but I think you develop certain habits over time in whatever sport that you play, and I don't think it's necessarily 100% conducive or translatable into the ring. So I'm a little happy about that. I'm looking forward to my boy Jorgen messing up your what is he? Was he a cowboy? And a Panther.
He was a cowboy.
Yeah,
2015. Yeah.
So, I'm happy about that. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. But I will say one thing, though, to your point about going from one sport to another.
Mm-hmm.
Did you forget about Brock Lesnar? He was part of the WWE.
Sure, but sport?
Well, it's an entertaining sport. What did you say?
The thing with Brock Lesnar was he was a wrestler prior to it.
That's
wrestler.
Right. That's right.
Right?
He was
so
an
it's a
amateur
little
wrestler.
bit different.
Yeah.
And then,
That's
a
true.
perfect counter argument to that is, let's say, what's his name? The GOAT?
CM Punk.
Too
CM
many
Punk?
people? Like MJ going to baseball? How'd that work out?
Well, he played, didn't he? He was part of the pros for a while.
Sure. Well, where's his highlights, man?
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about the highlights. We just focus on the.
But that's
this
my case in point, man. The
I know.
GOAT, even in the sport, I mean, maybe good in a different sport, but great is a little bit different. And we'll see. We'll see on Saturday. It should be exciting. I'm excited for my boy. I think my boy is weighing in. Dude, my boy looks like he weighs more. That means Greg Hardy is fucking dense.
Yeah, he's pretty swole with the muscle for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at your boy right now, man. He's probably walking around at 300. Like, don't even front.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Fuck, dude.
He got that weight. He got that weight.
Damn. All right. All good. All good. It's extra padding. Look at that.
That's right.
All right.
More cushion for the beating in this case.
all right. So I think this is my turn right now to pick.
Yeah.
And then
that's right.
All right. So we're looking at Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Qatar. Both good-looking guys. Both looking very confident. Both vets in the game. Jeremy coming in with 28 wins, 17 losses, 1 not counted. Both from the U.S. We got Calvin Qatar a little bit, a lot actually, 3 inches. That's very, very important nowadays with all things in sports. I think every inch fucking matters, especially in basketball. Half inch definitely matters.
I disagree. With basketball especially, I disagree. I mean, look, Zion's 6'6".
Sure, but I mean, like, just when you're analyzing a player, it's kind of like height really, really matters. At least on initial, look, right? When they were looking at Jordan, I say Jordan a lot because I've been watching The Last Dance a lot. 6'6", dude. People weren't expecting him to be like fantastic, right? But you never know.
But wait, are you equating height to talent?
I'm equating height to the potential of talent.
Oh, come on. You know that's wrong.
Hey, man.
That's wrong.
You know what? This is my analysis. Let me.
All right, defend it. If it's your analysis,
I don't want. Wait. We're going about the same at 145. We got 1 inch on Qatar for his reach, and about a 1.5 inch leg reach increase for Qatar.
Okay.
Now, this is something I'm interested in. You didn't scroll too far down, or you didn't mention it. But if you look at how they won, right? So we scroll down a little bit, you see that our boy Jeremy has a higher knockout ratio than Calvin Qatar, but Qatar has a slightly higher submission ratio. All right, and then decisions, Qatar can go the distance a lot longer, I assume. What was that? All right, let's go ahead and look on average fight time. Qatar ends a little bit earlier. They both have the same knockdown average. Strikes, grappling. Ooh, Stevens likes to hit the floor a little bit more. Ooh, but we got a good takedown defense on this end. All right, man. Do you know who I'm going with?
I think your boy Stevens, right?
No.
You said before you wanted Stevens, and then you asked me, do you know who I'm going with? What the hell kind of game is this?
I'm going with my boy Calvin. I think my boy Calvin and Hobbs is going to come through. Usually published in the newspaper. We're going to see it Saturday night. We're going to see Calvin on the front page. And I'm thinking, you said knockout for your boy Greg.
Yeah.
Qatar, I'm going to give him a knockout too. Give him a knockout. Round two knockout.
For sure. I'm cool with that. I got my boy Jeremy Stevens. And by the way, a guy is good when he has a nickname. Like, if you scroll all the way up on that page, you'll see that Stevens is the only one on that page with the nickname.
Hey,
Little
man.
Heathen.
He's a little heathen. And he's also ranked a little bit higher.
You go.
Hey, man. But, underdog spirit.
Underdog Don.
Underdog, man. All right, let's look at the next one.
All righty. All right, so I'll go through this one. This is,
sure.
Oh gosh, I picked a hell of a one to pronounce here. This is Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rosenstruik. And, we're talking about Ngannou first here, record 13-3 from the country Cameroon.
Ooh.
Height 6'4", weight 250, reach 83 inches,
Damn.
leg reach 44.5. Record-wise for Jairzinho, he's looking at 10-0, also pretty good. Country Suriname. Height 6'4", about the same as Francis. Weight 242, more or less the same. Reach 78, significant disadvantage there.
Yep.
Leg reach 41, disadvantage there as well. If we look at their history over here, wow, these guys are going to go for the knockout for sure, for sure. Jairzinho, 90% KO, TKO win percentage. That is really incredible. I don't think I've seen many that high before. 71%, not to be outdone there by Francis Ngannou. Submission, nah, we're not going to see submissions in this fight. I highly doubt it.
You might. He's got 29%, man. You never know.
I suppose you're right, but
I would much rather say we're not going to see a decision on this one. We're going to see someone get tapped or knocked the fuck out.
That's fair. Based on the numbers, you're absolutely right. Average fight time. Oh, so they never go to decision.
No, dude.
I'm cool with. This may be the fight that I'm most looking forward to right now.
Right.
All these other stats, great, fantastic, a lot of strikes.
Sure.
Grappling, they don't grapple at all. Look at that. 0. Just straight up 0. Take that. Well, they're good at defending the takedown. I guess that's fantastic. All right, I'm looking for this classic brawler slugfest here. Who am I gonna go with?
You going with the Predator or Biggie
Predator
Boy?
Or the Biggie Boy. Ooh, my goodness, my goodness. I got to go with the Predator, man. I like the name. I like the Ngannou. It's one I can pronounce.
Sure.
And I think the 3 losses give him character. They give him something to work for. There's a chip on his shoulder,
Yeah, man. Hey, no, I'm happy about that. I'm rocking the blue side. I think I'm rocking the blue side on all of them so far.
You're equipped today, huh?
Right. I think so. Right. Let's do a little quick double check. Yeah, I'm blue side on here.
Oh man.
Am I blue side on here? Yeah. Were the ranks? Yeah. So I'm underdog. I'm underdog for sure. So far
for everyone. Oh shit. Well, next one you might switch it up.
All right. Here we go. We got Henry Cejudo. Right. Versus Dominic Cruz. All right. We got the Messenger versus the Dominator. Interesting names. For Henry, we got a 15-2 record from the U.S. coming in at 5'4".
My goodness, 5'4"? Are you serious?
Man. Hey, man.
Wow.
Hey, but he's got the belt. Can't take that away from him.
You're right. Well, you might get it taken away.
64-inch reach, 37-inch leg reach. And then for our boy Dominic, we're looking at a little more stellar record of 18-1. Also from the U.S., 4 inches taller, coming in at 5'8". Same weight at 135, at least for now. Reach, 4 inches longer, but the same leg reach at 37. All right. So we're lacking some data here, I'm assuming. We're lacking some data right here for Dominic, who doesn't have any win rates going on right here. But at least for Henry. Hey, this is my dude right now. Or do you want to take this one?
Go for it.
We got, mostly decision going for Henry, give or take, or KO. But Dominic Cruz has some long fight time, so this guy can go the distance. He's got an engine for sure. Landed per minute, we're looking at around the same. When it comes to strikes per minute, significant strikes, we got a little bit more on Henry's side. Absorbed per minute, while Henry's taking a little bit more. Defensively, Dominic's a little bit better. Probably run hand in hand with this absorbed per minute in defense. Grappling, we got Dominic going a little bit higher with about 1 average takedown per 15 minutes more. Takedown accuracy, Dominic obviously is going to dominate there. Takedown defense, well, but Henry's got some solid takedown defense. And submission average, well, not too big on either. This one's tough. I don't know, man.
Come on, man. You know there's an obvious choice to this one.
No, man. Well, what would your choice be?
I would go with the champion. I'd go with Henry Cejudo.
All right, we're gonna stick to the theme. I'm going with
really?
the underdog.
No, I don't want to take that.
I'm going with the underdog. All right.
So nice, this guy. So
All
nice.
right. You know what? That's how we do it. Now, the big boy.
Oh. Okay, so I will run through this one. My bad. I was just reacting to the slow delay, the latency on the Skype there. Okay, matchup stats. We're looking at the guy El Kukui, Tony Ferguson, who is the #1 ranked fighter in his weight division, versus the human highlight reel, aka just the highlight, Justin Gaethje. Gaethje, yes. And looking at the records first, comparable. Well, although Ferguson has more experience, 26-3 for Ferguson. Justin only has 21-2, but still very respectable.
Sure.
Both born in the good old USA, Trump country, formerly Obama country. Shout out to Democrats and Republicans. Republicans buy sneakers too, right?
Hey man, you're coming in heavy in the red, dude. You're coming in heavy in the red.
I'm coming in heavy in the red in more ways than one, my friend. In more ways than one. They are of the same height and weight, which is kind of astonishing. There is no significant advantage at the height and weight at all, but they usually eat up a little bit. They fill their bodies with water before the fight, so one of these may get bloated. You never know who. The reach, oh my gosh, Don, 6.5-inch reach advantage for the guy, Tony Ferguson, 76.5, and Justin Gaethje's only clocking in barely, scraping by at 70.0001 inches. That is insane. Leg reach, we got about the same. 40 inches. Not too much of a difference there. Win percentage. Now, this is interesting. Gaethje is a knockout artiste. Not just artist, an artiste.
An artista.
Artistas. In Espanol, señor. Okay, so 86% KO TKO percentage for Justin Gaethje. Not really much of a submission specialist, clocking in at only 5%, but sometimes he does go the distance, and it lasts 10, 15, or 30 minutes, depending on what kind of fight it is, and he has 10% of his wins by decision. On the flip side, Tony Ferguson, you get a nice mix. You never really know. He's like a box of chocolates. Half the time, he's going to knock you out if he wins. A third of the time, he may choke you out. And then a fifth of the time, he may just be like, whatever. I don't feel like doing anything too extravagant. I'm just going to wait until the judges do it. So knockout, the average fight time over here, they like to fight a while. They're not really a first-round knockout artist. That's okay. Maybe the previous matchup with Ngannou and Rosenstruik, that's going to be the one where they knock you out in the first round.
Sure.
Significant strikes. Interesting. So there's a huge advantage here for Gaethje. Gaethje lands 8.5 significant strikes per minute versus 5.5 for Tony Ferguson. Wow. Percentages, the absorb per minute. Oh, absorb per minute. Okay, so absorb per minute, if I'm right, Don, that means the number of punches that they take. Right?
Yep. Gaethje likes to fight.
Oh, he does.
Gaethje likes to brawl.
This is kind of worrisome, actually. He's like a high-risk, high-reward type of person. Defense, I don't know how they measure defense exactly, but
I'm assuming like blocking the strikes, defending the takedown, that sort of stuff.
I think so. So that's more or less the same. Grappling, they don't do too many takedowns because they both like to fight for the most part on their feet. Takedown defense, they're both pretty good at defending the takedown. So I feel like this fight, for the most part, will stay on their feet. Both fighters
will be a fucking bloodfest, dude. This one is going to be great. They're just going to be slugging at each other. These pretty faces, at the end of the evening, going to be bloodied up. One of them is definitely going to be bloodied up.
Have mercy on these pretty faces. The highlight versus El Kukui, #1 ranked in the UFC. All right, so now which of these entices you more? Is it the Tony or the Justin?
Hey man, at this point, I know it's going to be a fantastic fight. I say we keep it with the theme that we have going on. Right? I'm just saying. I think it was the other way around initially, but looking at it, I know you like guys, or you favor guys with a longer reach.
I do.
First off, and I know you're a little more risk averse nowadays, right? A little bit risk averse, and I know the significant strikes piece, when you hit it, you were like, whoa, what is that absorb per minute right there? Right? But that's something I enjoy about Gaethje. I was watching some videos a couple weeks back, and Gaethje has a heart of a champion. He don't give a fuck. He's gonna stand his ground, and he's gonna trade blows with you. And I think that comes with having a shorter arm. Like, he wants to slug, even though he may not have that jabbing arm. He has those Thor hammer kind of arms. But same thing could be said with Tony Ferguson. He's a more well-rounded fighter, but he's fucking fantastic on his feet, and he's just as good, if not better, than Gahey, as you can see with his rank being number 1, holding the belt, compared to Gahey, who's, what is it, number 4? Yeah, number 4. So, it could go either way, man. Like, I wouldn't mind having either one. I'm just going with, do you want to stick with your red approach to,
I'll go with the red states this time. We'll go with all red. So I got my boy here, Tony El Cucuy Ferguson, versus your guy, Justin, the human highlight, aka the only highlight.
Oh man, this is great. Hey dude, see, look, I'm just looking at his tattoo, man. Ferguson's gonna be hitting the wrong spots when he's aiming for the head, man. Yeah. I'm just saying, dude.
For those of us who are listening into the audio only version, Justin Gahey, the picture we're looking at right now, below his left nipple, right around his abdomen area, there's like just these very menacing looking eyes. It's a pair of eyes that are very, very menacing looking. And I guess Don is trying to say that, more than likely my guy El Cucuy will be punching directly at the bottom eyes, not the real eyes. That might be a disadvantage. Right?
You know what? Hey, my guy can take it though, man. What is that? 10 hits? 10 hits a fucking minute? Dude, let's go, man. Let's go.
Dude, that's like, you realize every 6 seconds Ferguson's going to clock Gahey.
Hey, you realize that's fine. That's fine. But he's only landing 5. Yeah, that makes sense. He'll land about one every 10 seconds. Right here, give me this. But my dude, once you send one, he's sending 2 your way.
That's true.
So,
it's rocked and then it's boom.
You know
boom,
what?
Boom,
like he may miss on this low amount. But one of those 2 throughout that time, 4 of them are gonna land, and this guy likes to get hit. So
I'm going to make so I think for this fight alone, not the other fights, but for the top fight alone, I think we should kind of call exactly how it's going to end. And I'm going to throw you a wild one with this. I'm going to say Ferguson is going to submit Gahey.
Ooh.
Yeah. How about that?
You know what? I like that, because I think that's probably the right mentality to take. Obviously, Gahey doesn't like hitting the floor.
That's right.
Too much. So, I mean, once he gets on the floor, maybe considering the fact that Ferguson has longer arms, and for some odd reason, I don't think you listen to me, we're saying having long arms doesn't necessarily help on the floor. That might be the right thing, Right. But the same thing can go, dude. It's Gahey. He's the underdog. He may be preparing for that, and he may have some tricks up his sleeve where, Ferguson's going to be expecting the highlight punch, but it may be a highlight grapple, to take out, as you say, El Cucuy,
Yeah,
we'll see. But all right, we won't put some more money on that. But I'm thinking it's gonna be a KO fight either way.
All right, for sure. So we doing what, 10 per fight? Is that the plan?
Yeah.
All right, I got you. And then I think last time we did something special though, like we added another 10 bonus.
I think it was to the final.
Okay, are we still doing that? I'm down for whatever. It's up to you.
Let's see. We did it for win condition. For the match 1, we had we went 5-5 for the first 2, then 20 on the top. So I think we follow that.
Sure, let's do that. I'm down.
Let's go with that one. Let's go ahead and copy that sucker. All right, so got it in. We're locking it in.
Yes, sir.
All right. So by the end of the night, you're gonna have to owe me what, $50? Something like that?
Honestly, I got all the overdogs right. I think I'm sweeping this. I'm going 5-0. 5-0.
You gotta have these guys have been fucking caged because of coronavirus. They're just waiting to get out. Man.
I feel you. I feel you. But they might not like how you put $5 for the Ferguson Gahey match. I think you have the
sorry,
the money reversed. It's all right though. I got you.
All right, let's go ahead and hit that right there.
For sure.
Boom. All right. Blue side.
There you go.
Trump side.
Oh man. All right, that's fine. I'll roll with that for now. The true fans know where I really stand, but I'll roll with that for now. Trump side versus. I like how you don't even have the boldness to go with Biden's side. You just go with Trump side, blue side, because it's like you're playing the field basically.
Yeah, this Trump.
What is this? Tread. Okay, I got you.
All right.
I hear you.
All right.
It's going to be exciting. So just to let our fans know, the fight itself, the card itself is going down May 9th, this Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. I'll be sure to tune in, and of course we will pay the full price.
Of course. And that way we're not going to be. I don't think we should publish on YouTube, because I'm pretty sure we may lose connection to our paid streams, and we'll be talking about where to go to make sure that we're using the right web address.
Yes.
To access it. So I think it might be best to maybe just do We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it
offline. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Talk about it for sure. And speaking of talking, I think you still have some more quotes to go over, right?
That's a closing quote. Oh well, you know what? You want to start with my sis? That's the closing quote that we could close off with later on.
That was the closing quote. Okay, my bad. I thought there were more quotes between the opening and closing. Sorry.
No.
I think let's go back to the Wiz Khalifa one for a little bit.
Sure.
So I do agree with the general principle, because in life you can literally worry about anything and everything forever.
Sure.
Right? Oh, am I going to die tomorrow? Will I, see this person tomorrow? Will I be able to finish this job tomorrow? Will my family be okay? You can ask these questions until the cows come home, Don. You can totally do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, what does that accomplish? What do you gain from that? You gain anxiety. You gain tons of anxiety. You get stressed out unnecessarily. You're putting undue stress on the human body. And I think, in theory, one thing that other people do, which is not exactly worrying, it's more about preparation. Other people, what they like to do is they envision different scenarios that could happen, and then they kind of mentally prepare how to react to each of those scenarios. It's kind of like expecting the worst but hoping for the best. It's kind of like that mantra. So it's not exactly worrying. Worrying just means it's like a negative thought, right? Like you're always worried about, what's going to happen. But if you prepare, I think it's much better.
Yeah, and I think, to build off of that, worrying is kind of taking a passive approach to whatever life throws your way. And preparing is taking an active approach to things where you don't care for the things you can't control. You care about things that you can do today to invoke a certain outcome in the future or immediately. Taking a passive approach to things kind of leaves you at a standstill and doesn't really give you much to work with whenever the conclusion gets closer and closer. Whereas the preparation side of things gives you what many would say the luck to have the conclusion end in a positive note for your own gain. So, I mean, Wiz is fantastic about this. I'm sure he has a little bit more organic help that helps him bypass worrying and, overthinking of things.
Of course. He has a little bit of that green energy, so to speak.
Yeah, hey, you got to invest in green energy. I'm just saying. It's going to be great. Hey, for my plaza, remember, or my suite, I'm just saying, Green Cross is going to be up there one day.
Green Cross. I love it. For the fans that haven't tuned in recently, one of the goals in life for Don is to basically have like a bit of a strip mall where every single retail space is something that he owns. Like it could be a restaurant here, coffee shop there, a tech center on the side.
Hell yeah.
And why not have a little bit of a greenery, a green space there?
Hell yeah, right next to the karaoke room. It's going to be great.
There you go.
Hell yeah. And I think, hey man, Wiz has a good outlook on life. I think he's everything that I've seen come from him, I don't necessarily like when it comes to his music. I can't vibe with everything that he does. But for the most part, I vibe with him. I fuck with him. That's some good stuff. And I think his outlook and his approach to life at such a young age is really good compared to some of these other guys that we're seeing. Ratting people, snitching them out, joining gangs, paying in to join the gang, stuff like that.
AKA your favorite rapper.
The GOAT.
What's up with him, by the way? I heard that they're, as you know, they're releasing a lot of people from prisons all over America for obvious reasons. Is he also out? Is he out on bail?
I don't know. Let's see. I forget his name. 6969
Tekashi, your boy.
All right. Let's see. So I'm googling it up for those watching. All right. Well, dude, according to TMZ, published on Monday, he's shooting a new music video.
Wow, from jail or from outside of jail?
I don't know, man. You know what?
Let's not watch it. It's okay. We don't have to, we don't have to get into it. I think we've talked about 6ix9ine enough for one day, probably for one year, to be honest with you.
Oh no, there's not enough. You know, there's more room to talk about. This is fantastic.
I kind of doubt that. Although it's funny, like I heard a part of his song in that one video you sent me a few days ago. You know, it was like the green guys versus the purple guys.
Hell yeah. Yeah, the overloaded bass, that's all him.
That's him? Really? Yeah. Oh my gosh, wow.
Hey,
I thought it was some like amateur SoundCloud rapper, but it was the GOAT.
Well, I mean, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised now that I know the truth. I hear you.
Yeah.
So before 6ix9ine, we were talking about what was it? Let me go back to the thing here. Oh, the Wiz Khalifa quote, right. So I think Wiz Khalifa is very active on Twitter, right? He's known to have a good following, and he oftentimes says these quotes online.
Sure.
That's interesting. I think one of the key components of marketing yourself as a influencer, as a celebrity, as anything really nowadays, is your ability to deliver content on social media. Now, of course, the easiest way for most people, especially if you're a celebrity, an attractive one at that, is to go on Instagram and post pictures, right? Because nothing gets viewed more than a picture. But beyond that, I find it really interesting when, whether it's a rapper, an actor, musician, whatever it may be, if they take the time to actually post things on Twitter that are kind of unique. You know, Wiz Khalifa's quote right here, I'm not sure if it's from Twitter. You know, you could find other people talking about it too, but there's still some insightfulness to it. Like, yeah, you know, it is like having an umbrella, you know, always waiting for it to rain. That's kind of true. But even beyond that, I'm sure if you look up and down his Twitter, he probably has some gems in there. You know, maybe some jokes, maybe some references to things that we haven't thought about in some time that really get us thinking. And maybe you're right. It's all a testament to the type of person that he is, the type of character that Wiz Khalifa has evolved to become.
Sure. Now, I'm trying to load that up. So as you can tell, internet's a little slow.
Well, you know, it looks like you know, the Twitter might be a little high right now.
Yeah, I think those servers are going.
I've been noticing that actually for different applications. Like right now on Skype, even my internet's pretty good, but I notice the video stream is like 240p. It's like really low resolution. So you know, maybe it's a lot of people having this issue.
Well, I think it's also just everyone's on, you know.
Exactly.
Everyone's home, more or less. Everyone stay home, please, until everything's okay.
For sure. I see. Look, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, look this is super insightful, dude. Hey, look at the top one. Please smoke more and bitch less. Fantastic quote. He's getting his agenda across.
It's kind of true. You understand. It's a realistic quote. He's genuine about it. And that's true to his life. He lives that every day.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah, and then coronavirus finally makes my choice of staying home, smoking weed, watching Netflix, and sleeping socially acceptable. Fantastic. And I smoke too much weed to ever trip about shit. I don't give a fuck, bitch. I'm high. That's it. You know what, man? That's fantastic.
He's living his life.
It's fantastic.
More power to him. More power to him.
You know what? He's talking about. Okay, we're not going to go.
Right. Yeah. No, we might have lost a sponsor there. But that's or maybe we gained a sponsor, depending on how you want to look at it.
I'm not gonna. You know, we should probably
we can
screen these. We should screen these parts.
Yeah, because you never know what's on Twitter these days. That's very true. Oh, speaking of screens and more so about setting screens, you know who my favorite Ball brother is, of course, right?
Yeah, LaMelo.
LaMelo Ball is the incorrect answer. Oh. But since you mentioned LaMelo, you're getting warmer, but sadly, there's only one choice left. LaMelo. Let's actually talk about LaMelo that you're on it. I've been reading some headlines every now and then that say LaMelo is really the clear-cut number one prospect. Like, it's kind of what you were telling me before, right? If you were to gamble on anybody, you would gamble on LaMelo because you haven't seen enough of the other guys in college.
Yep.
Maybe if March Madness did happen, you'd have a better impression of the Edwards guy and the Wiseman guy.
Yep.
But now, with some of the footage you've seen from, you know, the Ball is life highlights, his overseas game footage, you know, just highlights from Chino Hills, I think there's enough excitement there and enough hype to really boost LaMelo's chances of being number one overall. But let's put that to the side for now, because really I don't want to talk about the little ball brother. He will get his time in the sun. Don't worry. He'll be fine. I'm sure he'll probably make, I don't know, sixth man of the year once in his 6-year career in the NBA.
You're talking about Lonzo right now, right?
Actually, no. I was talking about your boy LaMelo.
Oh, my bad. See, because he's obviously gonna win like at least one MVP, a couple chips. You know, he's gonna get a couple of those, fill up the hand. You know, make it a little heavier. He needs a little bit of a handicap, given how many threes he's gonna be sinking daily.
You know, I don't disagree with you there. I think he can do whatever he wants if he plays long enough in 2K. If he plays every day, he can win all the championships, shoot all the threes, take all the shots, and he can be the best player ever in the NBA as long as he tries hard. It's really about making sure your hand-eye coordination is good. Mm-hmm. He can learn a thing or two from Devin Booker, the former, or the current actually, NBA 2K tourney champion. But I digress. We are talking about Lonzo Ball here because there is a very fascinating article from Andrew Lopez of ESPN on April 30th, 2020 that talked about the very, very special Zion Williamson-Lonzo Ball connection. And it is true. The NBA is so eager for more. And kind of summarizing this for you, they basically talk about one particular play during an intra-squad scrimmage where Lonzo kind of just threw the ball. It wasn't even the best pass. He's known to give really good passes, but he just threw the ball in the direction of the rim. And it was a horrible pass. Like I said, it actually hit the backboard first. But Zion still caught it and finished it. And at that point, everybody kind of knew, like, whoa, there's something going on here. There is a chemistry for sure here because Zion knows that Lonzo is always looking for him. I mean, come on. You and I watched his debut, probably on a prequel episode, and we've watched countless highlights of him ever since. And who's the number one guy that gives him the ball, Don? Is it Drew Holiday? Nope. Is it anybody else on the team of consequence like Brandon Ingram? No, it is Lonzo Ball. And I think two reasons for this. Number one, as I've said before, Lonzo does better when he has teammates around him that can run, that can finish, that can cut around, because Lonzo is really a pass-first point guard. But number two, and this is a little bit more cynical, and I kind of want to get your take on this, I think Lonzo understands that for his own career longevity, for him to recoup the money that was lost by him going from the Lakers to the Pelicans, for him to regain the stature that he once had pre-draft, he needs to attach himself to a really good superstar and develop that chemistry long term. He needs to be in a position where he's the Robin to the Batman of Zion Williamson and stay with that for years to come. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good take on things. It's hard for a point guard, a true point guard, a pass first guard, to really be the number one guy of a winning team. Chris Paul has tried to do that. Obviously hasn't worked out. Attaching yourself to some sort of superstar, rather someone that could complete something that you don't do first, is absolutely key for the success of that kind of point guard. And given the stature Zion is expected to reach, and quite frankly what he's already at, it's a great opportunity for Lonzo to tag along with. Because as much as I talk shit about Lonzo, I will always talk shit about Lonzo, because talking shit about Lonzo is a way to making him better, I think. And you only critique those that you know can take it, and you critique those in that way where you have higher expectations of them. I wouldn't be critiquing a JJ Redick because I know what to expect of him. I don't expect more, you know. But for Lonzo, there's so much more room for him, right? I mean, let's just get a couple more degrees on that arm angle when he shoots, and then maybe it'll be a somewhat of a formidable shot, right? just a couple more, you know. Let's 10. Let's go 10 more degrees, a little bit more. Let's stop covering both eyes. You know, I think we're on one right now. Let's cover. I'm covered both when shooting.
Sure.
And I think it goes to say that, you know, the league right now is dependent on having two stars. The counter to that is, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks. with Giannis. But
Wait a second. Wait a second. Yes,
what?
exactly. Chris Middleton. Come on,
Exactly,
man.
exactly.
Yeah.
But Middleton is, I don't consider him a superstar. He is a fantastic role player, similar to what Lamar Odom is.
Ooh, wow. That's a great comparison. I agree with you.
Right?
I agree with you,
but
actually.
Kobe couldn't do it with just Lamar. He needed Gasol there.
Right.
And even Gasol was not a full-on superstar. He was a star at best.
Right.
So, I mean, you put 2 stars. Would you rather have 2 superstars or 2 stars and 1 superstar? Either way, to me, they kind of, if you were to quantify the talent, those would equal up. Right? Because, what was it? Initially, when Kobe won with Shaq, three-peat, Kobe wasn't quite the superstar yet. Not yet. He was there. He was on the cusp of becoming the superstar. But he was like maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the way.
Wait a second though. If we go back to that time, and I'm sure you'll educate me on this because I wasn't watching as actively as you were back then.
Sure.
But who was ahead of Kobe in terms of the shooting guard position during the three-peat?
It wasn't necessarily that there was someone above him. There was just another person that kind of complemented the system. So it was Shaq, Kobe, and someone named Glenn Rice, who was a shooter. He was a superstar in his younger days, but was a star and still solid as a role player, above average role player that helped give him that little extra oomph, again, to quantify it, to, make 2 stars better than 1 superstar sort of thing.
Okay, so in this context, you're saying that Kobe was just a star, just like Glenn Rice was.
No, I mean, of course, to me, he was a superstar already. I'm just trying to be realistic on this sense because he was still young, he was still growing up, and he still had the tendencies to ball hog and make it an ISO game before it, that became a thing.
I don't think that aspect of his game changed over the years.
It didn't. But then this was later on in his career, it was more warranted because he had already reached superstardom. I think at that point he was a little naive and young, trying to be MJ a little too quick when it took MJ 6-7 years to develop into the superstar.
Okay, I feel you.
Right? They're both great when they came into the league. Don't get me wrong. Same with LeBron, right? But LeBron's a little bit different. You could argue his rookie year, he was a fucking superstar already. But, it's kind of hard when you're the only person on that team that knows how to play basketball. And you're surrounded by, to quote Arjun here, bums.
Well, I got to give a shout out to Anderson Varejao. And who can forget? Do you remember
Sideshow Bob? You mean
Sideshow Bob, of course, with the Brazilian blur?
Hey man, well, I gotta make a quote. It makes me laugh every time I think about it, though. But when his brother calls him out, like, remember in the Bucks, this offseason they acquired him, and then they interviewed Brooke about how the team was. He's like, "Yeah, we made one mistake this offseason. We acquired my brother." Like, I think he said that seriously. Like, I don't think it was a joke. There are many, many, many other people out there that probably would have been better.
Yeah.
But, I guess Sideshow Bob helps out.
I think so.
But, to digress, about, going back on Ball and Williamson.
Yeah.
I think Lonzo has the capability of becoming a superstar. But he's going to be a point guard superstar. He's going to enter the echelon of the Chris Pauls and the
Steve Nash.
I don't know if Lonzo's going to win MVP. I don't see that in this league, especially if he attaches himself to Zion.
But wait a second. Are you saying that in this argument, Chris Paul is ranked lower than Steve Nash?
All time, yeah.
Okay, so you're probably talking in terms of accolades only.
Well, accolades and pure performance. Steve Nash was a wizard with the ball. Not to discredit Chris Paul, who is a genius with the ball.
Wizards and geniuses. Which one's better?
Exactly. It's more of a preference. So maybe the accolades do lend itself a little more credibility to compare. I just think Steve Nash was phenomenal. Much, much more impactful to the team than Chris Paul. And the basic argument I could say is attitude. I think people wanted to play with Steve Nash. I don't think people want to play with Chris Paul. And that's not something that you want in a point guard, bro. You want a point guard that's not going to be an ass Because, all right, let's just compare Steve Nash and Lonzo Ball, or not Lonzo. Let's compare Lonzo Ball and Chris Paul.
Uh-huh.
I can see if Zion fucks up receiving a ball from Lonzo, Lonzo's gonna be like, all right, it's all good. I'm gonna keep throwing it to you. You're gonna get it in eventually.
Mhm.
I can't see Chris Paul doing the same thing. Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul will throw you the ball and be like, fuck you. You fucked it up. I'm just gonna take it on my own. And I think he's had to, because all those years in Charlotte, he's had to be the guy. He's had to take those shots. He's had to develop an offensive game, even though he's always been a true point guard.
Mhm.
So
Okay. I mean, if your greatest argument is that people wanted to play with Nash, whereas with Chris Paul, not so much, I tend to agree with you. I think it's hard to play with someone who's so much of a floor general that wants everything a certain way and is highly demanding from everybody to the superstar.
He's like a red general, right? You want a blue general.
You would want a blue general. But, I also look at what they've accomplished beyond individual accolades, right?
Sure.
And the answer is nothing. They have not led their teams to a championship, neither one. And then, wait, do you agree or did you disagree with that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you made a noise like, what? Sorry. So I think if you look at the common denominator to really make a really good apples to apples comparison, you look at the time that Chris Paul was coached by Mike D'Antoni on the Rockets.
Sure.
And likewise, you look at the time that Steve Nash was coached by Mike D'Antoni on the Suns. And what do you see there? Well, really, you give credit to D'Antoni for making Steve Nash as good as he was and for winning those 2 MVPs. I think you can make a strong case that if it wasn't for that up-tempo system of basketball where they were flying out of the building, run and gun, pretty much orchestrating that offense like no other, and running up the score and pretty much climbing toward a top seed for multiple seasons, if it wasn't for D'Antoni's influence on the offense, Steve Nash wouldn't really be as good and maybe not even win 2 MVPs. You forget, Nash's second MVP, that was the year that Kobe went off. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the main argument against Kobe that year was the team's record simply wasn't that good.
Sure.
Right? So the way I look at it, Chris Paul, he has found some level of success with every team that he's been on, including the latest, including the team that he never wanted to go to, OKC. And yes, you can always make the case that people may not necessarily want to play with him, but is that always true? I think if you look around, there's plenty of people that benefited from playing with Chris Paul.
Sure.
You go back to his days on the Hornets. You look at David West. You look at Tyson Chandler. Do you remember how good that pick and roll used to be? It was like magic. It was absolutely insane. And even when, Chris Paul was a real hard ass, a real tough general, a little red general on the Clippers. I know, but especially on the Clippers, maybe he brushed Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan the wrong way. But were they not a successful team in the sense that they were making playoffs every year that he was there? They were advancing at least a round or 2 every year, and they made all-stars. Multiple players on the Clippers made all-stars. And to be honest with you, Chris Paul was in his prime during that time. He was giving it his all. I think one knock you can really say about Chris Paul that you haven't mentioned is injuries held him back from being what he truly could be. You never know what would happen in that series against the Golden State Warriors if Chris Paul never got hurt.
Sure.
If he never injured his hamstring, right? If he never came up lame, maybe we would have been looking at a completely new history of the NBA. And instead of, Rudy Gobert causing the NBA to shut down, maybe it could be Clint Capella. You never know. You never know how these things will turn out. But, I think I have to stick up for my guy, Chris Paul. I've always been a fan of his.
Of course.
And I would pick him over Steve Nash any day.
Nah, dude. Steve Nash has beautiful hair. I'm going with the hair.
He does have good hair.
And I think, like I said, not to discredit Chris Paul, but they're both great at their position. They have different styles and approaches, and it could be just the way that they had, grown and matured while in their professional careers as NBA players.
Right.
I feel bad because I know Chris Paul could have done so much more with his earlier career. Not to say that he wasn't successful as an NBA player, but I always get the vibe that he's kind of like that, the Charles Barkley of the guards, where you never get a ring, but he's always been that top tier player.
Tell me this, Don. Between Chris Paul and John Stockton, who do you think will be remembered more as the Charles Barkley of the point guards? Because Barkley, he was the greatest pretty much of his era as a power forward, right?
Yep.
Like he was one of the best.
Yep,
definitely one of the best,
if not the best, right, to ever play the position. I don't know. It's different times.
It's hard to compare. That's true. It's hard to compare. That's right. I feel bad for Chris Paul mostly because I know how much winning means to him.
Yeah. Okay, on that sense, yeah. But he's found success outside of basketball.
With what, State Farm? You're talking about State Farm?
Yeah, dude. Imagine how many times that airs nationally, daily, and how much. Even if he gets $1 per, like he's fine financially.
But and I think, come on, man. It's not always about the financials. He's okay regardless.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's gonna have a stellar career post basketball. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to become an analyst. And dude, I just thought about it. This frustrates me. We're never going to see Kobe on a TNT post game.
Oh man.
I thought about it right now. Fuck.
Well, to be fair, I think there was one playoffs where he wasn't in the playoffs that he joined the cast. He was a guest analyst.
Sure.
And we got to see him go back and forth with Barkley a little bit. But yeah, it's sad because I always wanted Kobe to be very much part of the NBA moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think he was going to, right?
Yeah.
Until his daughters maybe, reached professional levels.
Right.
But it would have been sweet, him, LeBron, Garnett, right? If they took over as like the new analyst table, that'd be great TV, right? Kevin Garnett, fucking. Oh my god, I love Garnett. But anyways, go on, Chris Paul. We'll throw Chris Paul in there. I'm sure, you need someone to rally the troops a little bit and get them on board.
Someone to yell at KG for going crazy.
Yo, shut up, man. Shut up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think. Do I think Chris Paul deserves a ring? No, he's never been on a team to have that championship caliber performance. Is that his fault? No. I think he's just got dealt a shitty hand of cards for his career, and he's going to have to live with it, man. Similar to how Carmelo is kind of dealing with it now. There's a lot of great players that just never reach the highest accolades in their careers, but they will always be remembered as a great player that could have been.
I mean, you're right. You talked about Barkley. You talked about Lonzo. You talked about John Stockton.
Whoa, wait.
Oh, did I slip in one? Did I slip in a name in there?
I think so.
Stockton, right?
No, there was something in there. I don't know. It just hurt my ears hearing that in that list of names.
Oh, it did? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Well, I forgot which name I said, so we can move on.
I'm pretty sure it was Lonzo, but... Yeah.
All right. You're right. I did that. I slipped Lonzo in there, and who knows? I'm hopeful that, do I think Lonzo will be the same caliber as Chris Paul? No, I don't. I don't think he has it in him. I don't think that's the type of guard that he is, but will he be like a Rajon Rondo, perhaps, on the 2008 Boston Celtics?
No.
Maybe.
No.
I can see him being that guy that really is the catalyst for the team, is the guy that keeps the ball moving, plays some defense when he needs to.
Whoa, defense, Lonzo? Whoa. Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Defense?
Oh, I think you slipped up, Don. I think you forgot that Lonzo's actually an above-average defender.
Yeah, above average, yeah. And his ability to get steals is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
He's able to read passing lanes. I know. I'm just trying to trigger you, man.
Well, I've been triggered already multiple times, so that's quite all right. I welcome it. at this point. And, speaking of, triggering things,
sure.
A boy from Utah
was
actually triggered to steal his mother's car, his poor
Oh,
mother.
I did read this. I did read this.
You did read it, so you know what I'm talking about. He
Yeah,
stole his
yeah.
mother's car, and his plan was to drive to California
Yeah.
to buy a Lamborghini.
Yeah, man.
And
$3.
I thought
$3 in the pocket.
all he had was just a couple of dollar bills in his pocket, and it was just like, it was insane to me because, number one, why do you have to go to California to buy a Lamborghini?
Hey, man, he
one.
has dreams, man. He has dreams. Like in this article, Utah boy 5 pulled over driving to California to buy a Lambo. By, I believe, what? NBC? I don't know what this is.
Sorry, this is by Minivon Burke from NBC News on May 5th, 2020. That's right.
Yeah, I remember seeing this because I was like, why the fuck does he have like a turtle shell mask going on?
Yeah, what is that? Is that like a... Did he really put that on? Or
No.
that?
I think that's just because he's a minor and they haven't gotten approval to post pictures. I think it's one of those. But
no, I thought that initially too, but when you look at the picture, it looks like he literally has something on physically on his face.
No. Right? I think it's because you can tell like this is like a pen sort of like stroke motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. I think you're right. I got you. But so I think in the article, I'll kind of read a part of it here. How old are you? You're 5 years old, the trooper is heard saying. Wow, where did you learn to drive a car? So after reading that, I scrolled down to look at the picture, and I was like, well, wow, that's a rather, tall, let's say, 5-year-old. I wouldn't expect him to be that large.
Sure.
He may be lying about his age. You never know. Sure. But usually you want to lie the opposite way, right? Like you want to say, oh, no, I'm 18. I got my learner's permit. But he actually went down a notch.
Yeah.
So
Could be. I mean, he's also in a big car. It was an SUV.
True.
So,
True.
But damn, I mean, it's great. I mean, this kid he was set on getting that Lamborghini, and it would have been interesting to hear or read the story if he actually made it to a Lamborghini dealership, right? Right, because then he'd have to talk about, the cred he'd get for basically making that long trek from Ogden all the way to California, with $3 to fill up his gas tank. It would have been great. More power to him, dude, and more power to the cop because the cop didn't do anything too crazy and actually helped the kid out, get the car in a park, even though I think he was basically driving on his tiptoes and on the edge of the seat.
Yeah.
Luckily, no one was hurt. It's also a good thing. And this kid is going to be a fantastic driver one day. Hopefully, he gets sponsored by Lamborghini one day. But
before we close on this one, I want to ask you, where do you think he learned the basics of driving? Just watching his mom, or do you think he got it from video?
He's probably from he's probably like on the Green Gang or the Purple Gang. So I think he learned it from, man. Because I mean, who at that age knows what a Lamborghini is?
Well, I mean, it is in music videos. It is on TV,
of course. But at 5 years old, okay, let's take that as truth. Let's assume he really is 5 years old, or 6 years old, or 7 years old.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, it's most likely coming from a video game. Their exposure to vehicles.
Sure.
But they're not necessarily named Lamborghini. They're always some rip. If anything, it's a sports car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm digging myself into a hole here. But I'm pretty sure, because it's a green Lamborghini ad, he was part of the Green Gang in GTA.
Well, let me send a ladder down into that hole so you can climb out of it, and I will tell the audience in the meantime. So, for people that are totally confused right now, and I would be too. Like a week ago, I had no idea what the hell a Green Gang, Purple Gang meant. But Dawn, of course, was nice enough to send me this video that I found to be truly interesting. It was basically in a popular video game called Grand Theft Auto 5. There's a online mode to it where you basically make your own character and you get to do all the crimes and stunts that the series is known for. And one of the recent trends that's been going on is characters in the game they basically buy, yeah, Don is showing it right now. They basically buy an outfit that makes them look like a green alien or a purple alien. And this has really caught on to the point that there are these armies of green people who are all decked out in the green attire with the green blimp, with the green cars and the planes and the trucks and the vehicles and everything. And you know what they do? They're just like a real gang where they walk around looking for people dressed in purple, looking for people that are just dressed in normal colors, and they just beat you to death with, what is it, Don? Was it a baseball bat?
It's a baseball bat. Hell yeah.
With a baseball bat. So obviously in Grand Theft Auto, you can use any kind of weapon you want. In this particular instance, it's just like, imagine 20 green people just hunting down purple people.
And they're rolling through.
Oh my God. It is something to behold. And what really amplifies the experience is listening to the very hardcore hip hop that's probably playing right now.
Yeah.
It's like a very, very gangster, thugged up, G'd up to the feet up type of music.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things where, you look at this game, Grand Theft Auto 5, that's been around for what, like almost 8 years now, 7-8 years. And still they're doing so well. Their community is so strong and creative to make these kind of additions and, thematic changes. So shout out to the Green Gang. I think Don and I are both supporting the Greens, right?
Oh, this is the one.
I ain't getting home,
Oh, yeah.
nigga, what the hell it mean?
All right. Yep, it's that overloaded bass. It's wonderful. And Green Gang, Purple Gang, it's all good. I think we had a little discussion about this. I would be part of the Purple Gang.
You did? Okay,
yeah,
my
man.
bad.
We got a rep.
Oh,
we gotta
that's
rep,
right, my bad.
the purple and yellow, man. Purple and yellow.
Yeah. You're such a loyalist in every
man.
way. In every way.
But there's a lot of them popping up. There's like a monkey gang going on. There's a SWAT gang going on. It's fantastic. And if I didn't get furloughed, I probably would be playing right now. But
I think you do what you can. I think there's plenty of other ways to invest your time than joining the Purple Gang.
Yeah, man.
But,
man. Hey, man. Well, I mean, like investing time, dude. It's something that I've been thinking. This is a certain kind of art form, right? Video games. It's creating something very visual, very new age, but something that has lasted the test of time has been art, pure art form, using applying paint or some form of paint to a canvas. And there's something that I found today, and I'm hoping that you've exposed yourself to it a little bit. Have you heard of this guy named Bansky?
Yeah, he's like the graffiti artist, right?
He is a graffiti artist. He's a street artist, to be a little more open about his genre. But, I perused Reddit on the daily, and I came across this. Found some credibility to it, where Bansky came out with a new piece. And what I'm showing on my screen is the actual artwork that he has created. And it shows a child holding a superhero nurse, while Spider-Man and Batman sit on a trash can in the background. And the kid is enjoying his toy nurse. What do you think of it, man? I mean, it's obviously, you can apply it today, but what do you think?
I think it's phenomenal. I was, as you scrolled to it, I was thinking, what does this mean? And when I realized it was a nurse with a cape on her, I was like, this is so true. And this is it's so contemporary, because when we talk about heroes, when we talk about superheroes, we always kind of think of, Marvel movies, DC Comics and whatnot. And it's been true for the longest time. Like, you go to the movies every year, there's like 3 or 4 superheroes to watch. But what's been happening lately? All the movies have been taken away, they've been postponed, and nobody's going to the theaters because of, what. And in its place, you kind of realize who's really working the front lines. And the front lines in this case is not necessarily a traditional war. It's a war against something that is invisible. And how do you combat that? You have to make sure, you have the people who are trained professionally to deal with the patients, to deal with all the symptoms, and to have the proper equipment to protect themselves in a way that PPE is their armor. Just like how, Superman dons the suit, Batman, Iron Man has his armor. The PPE protects the nurses. And I think it's so cool that it's a child a toddler perhaps holding up this doll, which is a nurse with the Red Cross symbol on her apron. I think it's so cool because you always think of children being imaginative, having imagination, as Don is well aware of, right? And what builds that imagination? The toys you play with, you kind of play around and you think of things in your mind, and it changes the way you perceive the world. If these kids, this is of course a symbol, but if these kids are looking up at a doll of a nurse with the Red Cross symbol, just kind of working the front lines and treating her as a superhero, then I think the world will be in a better place, because we're finally understanding that real life is real. It's not about, waking up in some kind of a utopian society, then crashing into Earth and drawing power from the sun like Superman. No, it's not like that. It's really about the everyday people that have to gear up, fight the challenges, and protect us, and protect our nation, protect the world. And I love how it's a kid looking up at it, because it's inspirational. You think the kid might one day want to become a doctor or a nurse, instead of me, somebody stupid like me back in the day, saying, oh, I want to be a superhero. Well, in this case, the kid can be a superhero by becoming a doctor, a nurse, somebody that takes care of people. So I liked it a lot, man. I thought it was fire.
Well, I'm going to take it one step further.
Do it.
What if this is Bansky's approach, where he's saying that all things that are current end up getting thrown away eventually?
I think you can interpret it that way. And to take it even bigger, you can even say all civilizations expire. No civilizations last forever. There's always a rise and fall of different dynasties. And you can ask yourself a question, well, America has been pretty darn good in terms of economic prospects for the longest time. Is this the beginning of the end? Is this a place where we say, you know what, America may start to fall back now? That's one example. Of course, what you're saying is everything's kind of temporal. Everything is very temporary. You have superhero films that are in right now, Game of Thrones, fantasy medieval films like The Witcher. They're also very popular right now. That wasn't always the case before. Maybe 20 years from now, you'll find steampunk be super, super popular. Everybody wants to dress up as steampunk. So you're right. I think nothing is really permanent in life. And for now, it seems like this is the new thing. But I hope it's a lasting thing. I hope it's not just like, oh yeah, nurses matter now, but not later. No, absolutely. I hope they get compensated as they should for years to come, and more people join the front line, join this group of people that are so helpful and supportive to mankind.
Absolutely. Well, I had a couple questions I thought of, so that way our viewers can hear how a Red supporter would sound.
Oh man. Red supporter only for today, for obvious reasons.
Oh, on Saturday.
Okay, and Saturday for the week.
Hold on, give me 1 second really quick.
Got you for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that was somebody stole it? Ooh. Yeah, that was someone that just stole it. Oh. Okay. Hey, Arjun, I need to take a little quick break really quick.
All good. I will entertain the fans. Take as long as you need.
Sounds good. We're back.
All right, sure. So as the D handles some business at the crib, I think I will talk a little bit about Banksy. I think Banksy, I've heard of him before, obviously, even before this particular image that Don brought up. Banksy has been popular for some time. He's been known to have a lot of different, images in, museums now too. And one thing that caught my attention even before this particular image was how he had a painting that self-destructs after selling. It was the wildest thing. The story came out probably 2 years ago. But basically, it was like this painting that was essentially a child. He tends to draw people often, it seems like. It was a painting of a child, in a dress kind of reaching for a balloon. And it's hard to tell if she's reaching for a balloon or maybe it's being whisked away by the wind from her fingertips. But this painting, apparently, as soon as it was sold at auction for $1.3 million, it was shredded to pieces. And I thought, wow, isn't that such a, bizarre and weird way to enjoy art? It's very much a microcosm of the Snapchat era that we're in, where, you send something to a friend that only lasts for a temporary amount of time, maybe 7, 10, 15 seconds. And afterward, it's just gone. It's gone forever, never to be found again. Unless, of course, maybe you work for Snapchat and you have access to the servers and you can recover deleted Snapchats, but that's a different topic entirely. So I thought it was interesting how this painting that was sold for 1.3 mil was shredded to smithereens as soon as it was sold. I, for one, haven't seen too many of Banksy's images over the years, but he does cause a lot of controversy at times. He does inspire people at times too. And I think that is what art should do. All forms of art, and I'm going to transition now into music because that's really what I resonate with the most here. I think all forms of art has the potential to cause controversy because it makes you feel some type of way. You look at something like, let's say, Kanye West, which is a character that we talk about incessantly on this podcast. Kanye West, he has created album after album, a lot of them hits. Lately, some might argue those hits may be few and far between, but still they are memorable. And he tries to kind of reinvent himself or reinvent the landscape, the soundscape, if you will, of the hip hop genre. Case in point, Yeezus. Now, Yeezus was an album that I initially did not like. I remember listening to it in a friend's car, and he played it for me, and I was just thinking, wow, wait a second, like, what is this cacophony? What is this harsh mixture of sounds that's really just too much? It doesn't sound like it's a cohesive, coherent album. I didn't really resonate with it at all. But after a few listens, I started digging a few of the songs, and luck would have it, I had a chance to attend the Yeezus tour, which was taking place at the Honda Center in the city of Anaheim in Orange County. This was many years ago, probably when Yeezus came out, basically, so about 4 or 5 years ago. And I just remember, at first, of course, I was trying to go see Kendrick Lamar. He was the opener for this concert, but alas, there was some miscommunication and we weren't able to catch him. But when we finally got there to the concert and I saw Kanye perform, I realized something that I didn't quite realize before. This man, Kanye West, has been in so many hits as a producer, as a rapper, as both, as a aspiring MC in the beginning, as a clever punchline rapper today. He has done hits with everybody and even for himself. And in that process, I noticed that when he performed the entirety of the Yeezus album, which was a rather short album, maybe about 10 or 12 tracks, I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but I understood his vision a little bit more. I understood that he was trying to change the soundscape so much, he was giving you something that no other rapper could have. And it was really a kind of it was eye-opening, yes. And here we have the D. The D is back.
Yeah.
And I will save
SoCal
the
DNA coming in live. 9:30 now.
9:30 on a Wednesday night. And sorry, D, I was basically sharing an old story about my first Kanye West concert. And we'll carry that on another time. But,
sure thing.
Back to the Banksy. Banksy image that you're sharing. I think it is great. It can be interpreted in multiple ways.
Sure.
And I can see where some people might think, you know what, it is showing you how children and even the world may easily dispose of anything that's popular. So I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you.
And, that was just me kind of taking a more pessimistic approach on things. I know Bansky is a very political artist.
Yes.
And much of his work kind of reflects the times of today, or at least, displays aggression from what I've, mostly seen, and just approaches to the way we look at life currently. Right. And I think, it's a perfect display of things because, even if these heroes in the background are thrown away, they're timeless because they've already been immortalized into a figure. And they will forever be ingrained in the memories of these children that cherish toys, right? I could still remember my toys. I mean, I didn't have a lavish upbringing. Whenever I would get toys, I'd be lucky to get them. But they would always be superheroes, and I know exactly. I had this one Iron Man one and War Machine set. It was a set. It was fantastic. It was like 2 for $5. So I was like, fuck yeah, that's all me. Where they had like super armor on, and you'd have to put the armor on, and I would always have fun with that. And I think Bansky understands that kind of timelessness that will forever be ingrained in children's memories well into their adulthood about what their toys were and how they entertained themselves and used their imagination to create something of nothing. And showcasing a nurse here shows us how important our healthcare and frontline workers are, and really gives them the center stage that they truly deserve, I think.
Well said. Well said. And I couldn't agree with you more. The child's mind is so impressionable. And I love the fact that he took something very contemporary and applied it in a way that honestly we can all agree with. And even though there is an aspect of it, like you said, that could be kind of interpreted differently, I think at the core, the crux of this piece is very inspiring, and I like it. It's fantastic.
Hey, and I had a couple follow-up questions.
Sure.
To deviate away from Bansky and just talk more in a general sense, at what point does tagging or graffiti become art?
Well,
in your perception,
it's a difficult question to answer because I know that art is subjective. But since you specified in my perception, I would say when it's something that people can enjoy without it negatively impacting the community. What do I mean by that? So let's say if you just kind of walk across, the downtown LA area, down Figueroa, you may find different, pieces of graffiti out there. Sure. Some are art, in my opinion, and I'll get into what I consider to be art. And some are just graffiti, which isn't really art to me, because what is it? It's just, random people just kind of writing out in the typical gang character, right? Like some shout out to maybe like a gang name or a neighborhood, whatever it could be, some call sign, right? I don't think that helps. I don't think adding that kind of graffiti to any kind of public structure benefits anyone, other than maybe yourself, if you're trying to gain your rep in the gang, in the purple gang, green gang, whatever. But another type of graffiti that I do consider to be art is when, let's say, you look at the mural of Kobe Bryant that was put on, I think it's close by Figueroa. It's in between Figueroa and Washington and Figueroa and Pico. Like in between there, on your way to Staples Center, there is a parking lot where I usually go to park for, NBA games. And behind the lot, there is a really big mural of number 24 Kobe Bryant. And I remember taking pictures in front of it too. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. Like, yes, this should happen because so many people cared about him. And so many people would want to come up to this mural to pay homage and also take a picture with a really good drawing of Kobe.
Sure.
Similarly, in Torrance, in my old stomping grounds, on I believe it's 182nd and Prairie, there is a vape shop. I haven't been inside the vape shop, but I drive by it all the time. And on the side of it, there is a image of Kobe Bryant along with Nipsey Hussle. And I think there's some kind of a quote or a tagline about it too. But I just thought to myself, that's really cool. Like the city is showing how much they cared about these two iconic stars, each in their own lane, one in the music world, one in the basketball world. You could argue that Kobe made a splash in the music world too, but we don't have to get into that. Kind of like how Jordan made a splash in baseball, but we never talk about it. I like it when graffiti is done in that regard, to pay homage to people. It could be a mural in Chicago with Obama on it, with a bunch of other Chicago greats on it. It could be something anywhere, really, in any city, but I prefer it to be something that is, consented to by the city. And I wouldn't want it to be something that is just kind of a solo thing that is going to deface some public property that will cause a lot of harm or cause a lot of people to kind of look and think, oh man, that's horrible. Like, I don't know why he would draw that there. Like, imagine walking around and seeing just a bunch of dicks drawn everywhere, right? That's not fun. That's not really helping people. It's funny. If you're in the friend circle, it might be funny, but it's not something that I would consider art. I just think that's, it's just sticking around. It's just, graffiti. So that's my take. I think it's cool when it's meaningful, it's memorable to more than just you and to a wide group of people. And it's something that the city can get behind and have on a permanent basis rather than on a temporary basis that needs to be scrubbed over. Sure. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think it adds a certain community feel when you see tagging. And to me, even though it is maybe someone's gang that they're repping or maybe just their name that they want to get out there, it's a form of media that to me is very, very similar to what we do in social media nowadays with hashtags and just tagging in general. I mean, I think it's very similar with the naming convention, tagging. What happens when I say, hey, I'm going to tag you in a post? That means I'm going to plaster your name somewhere on the post. Maybe it's all over the front page, or maybe it's hidden in the corner. It's still a tag nonetheless, and you still get notified of it.
Sure.
Is that art? Tagging you? Not necessarily, but it's a way of showcasing something and giving you something that I want you to see, or I want your name to be attached to. And I think street tagging has that same connotation. This is my hood. This is my area. I'm protecting it. I claim this as my territory in its most purest form. That's what many can see it as. And it kind of showcases the style of these members or these people. I think all street artists start off tagging because that's their way of practicing and sort of signing their handle, to use today's terms, on a canvas, similar as our digital canvases of today. It's a signature. And in essence, yeah, to really boil it down, I think it is art. It's not acceptable to, people that may not want it there. It may be on your back wall, because you somehow live near an alleyway or something of that sort. So you have to go and paint it yourself or get like the police to come in and, what have you. But it's still a tag. And it still showcases a message of some sort. We may not agree with it, as we don't with all things in art. There are some things that we'll look at, what's that guy's name that did the Campbell suit?
Warhol.
Yeah,
Andy
like Warhol. Like, do you consider that art?
Yes.
Do you consider someone taking a picture of something like a bird to be art?
Yes.
I mean, it's all subjective because
exactly. And to kind of challenge you a little bit here, because that's what I do. I like to keep you accountable. I hold you to account.
Rub my hands really quick. All right, go ahead.
If I were to tag, quote unquote, a big dick on your front door,
sure,
would you keep it there?
Probably not. But I'd take it off and I'd put 2 dicks on yours.
Great answer. I like that
because there's other things, because then that becomes banter, right? It's like, oh, this fucker, I know who sent this. Like, I'm gonna go get him back, and it's a sign. There's a message behind it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're fucking with me. Fantastic. I'm gonna fuck right back with you twice. So I mean, yeah, again, it's all subjective and depends on what take you take or you approach it from. And it's will tagging ever be showcased in an art museum? Probably not.
Yes.
Well, I mean, in future times, and
No, dude. Actually, look this up right now. Look up Banksy, $1.3 million. Just look up that, and you can see that he's been in a museum, and it's a very interesting story.
I know he has been, but I'm saying pure tagging, not where he's actually displaying people. I'm saying like someone puts MS-13.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Or whatever their gang may be.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, maybe if there was tagging on the Berlin Wall and we have a relic of a brick that has that piece of tagging, that may make it, but it won't be because of the tagging.
Well, I would take it one step further. I think there probably are a lot of documentaries that kind of showcase the real street culture of LA and other neighborhoods. And in those documentaries, time is given. A spotlight is shown on the tagging. And I think different artists, different street artists do defend it and do explain it. So it's a different way of showcasing the art. It's not necessarily in a museum or anything, but it is something that has been documented and explained and shared with the masses. So maybe tagging would not be portrayed in the same medium that you'd expect for like a painting. But why not in a TV show? Why not in a movie? I think it makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, and again, it's all subjective, man. It's all subjective. And I think to close out on, the episode, I have a quote that, I could segue into relatively easy.
Sure.
All right. So, new thing. Hopefully you guys like it. Let us know if you don't or do when it comes to these quotes for, in the beginning and closing up. But I have one here. I don't know where it's from. It was shared from my friend Mimi over Instagram.
Okay.
Where there's this guy who says, life is like a game of chess. Then, right after, I don't know how to play chess. And I think that's wise and something that we could take with us moving forward. We don't know, or rather everyone has their own understanding of what art is. And it's like a game of chess. You may not know the rules that everybody else knows, but you can still appreciate it for what it is. Like us, we don't know the game of MMA yet. I'm assuming in the future we'll eventually get better at picking people instead of Arjun going with his red state sort of picking approach, or going off of whoever has the longest reach.
Yeah, that's what I do every time, bro.
But also going back to what we talked about, where in the beginning, worrying and not spending too much time on it. You don't have to know everything to figure out everything in life. Your life is dictated, I think, by the decisions you make and what you do. And you're not going to know everything. But being prepared and taking an active approach to filling in the holes that you may have may be kind of wise.
I think what you're really saying is, yes, you're not going to know everything, but there's a certain pool of knowledge that I think we should all have, which is another way of saying common sense. Common sense and also just preparedness for a lot of common life situations. Having that ingrained within us, like maybe knowing how to do certain things on the fly, knowing how to handle conflicts, knowing how to handle situations, whether it's fiscally, whether it's socially, whatever it is. I think having a little bit of a toolkit that's common for all of us will help you get through life a little bit easier. Beyond that, of course, the whole world is open to you, right? You can learn about anything you want. And this is something that I sometimes struggle with because I'm the type of person that is infinitely curious. Like, I just want to know a lot about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I can obsess over certain things to find out all the details and really appreciate them as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And I realize it takes time. Every single time that you invest in something mentally, it is taking time away from you investing in other things. So you do have to use that time wisely. And ideally, you would use that time in things that you can apply to other parts of your life. Maybe there's overlap. Maybe there's common ground you can converse with other people in. Sure. And that is one of the, I would say that's one of life's great tragedies in a way, where there's never truly enough time to do all that you can. But one of life's great lessons in the same light is you have to pretty much decide what means the most to you and put your eggs in those buckets, put your eggs in those baskets. So those are words to live by. And I agree with this quote, more or less, life is like a game of chess. I don't know how to play chess, but I would also add, maybe I know a little bit about chess, but I don't know how to win. I don't know how to do a checkmate. And I think it's constantly moving the pieces, rotating, strategizing, trying to find that winning combination. And you never know if you're going to actually do it. But it is a long game. It is a game that never really ends until the bell tolls.
And I think on that, man, it's time we close out. You got anything you want to talk about? Little closing remarks. Little, you got COVID yet?
See, I thought my goal today was not to mention COVID.
But
since you did mention it, I think we have a little bit of time to kind of run through some things. To answer your question, no, I do not have COVID yet. But I will say that I've been going in more often, right? Because obviously, for my workplace, they actually called people back. We're one of the first to phase people in group by group.
Man. Well, dude, you gotta. Okay.
Well, I was gonna say they call people in, but that's not really the point of what I'm saying. Really, it's the way that they're doing it. So they're actually checking everything. So in the mornings, they have a couple of people, the HR person and the facilities guy, outside waiting for employees to come in, and they check your temperature with the temperature gun. They ask you 4 questions, like how many people have you killed? No, I'm kidding. They ask you questions like, did you come in contact with any COVID people recently? That kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then the cool thing is they actually give you a mask. So that's the benefit. I kind of look forward to that part of it because I don't have to use my personal stash, which I bought off eBay. I can just use a new mask every day that's disposable.
So, check that out, man. Resourceful Arjun, man.
There you go. I try.
Yeah,
but other than that COVID update, I would say, briefly, since we are talking about red states today, and I guess I'm a red state supporter for the rest of the week, we can't finish the podcast without a little bit about Trump. And the article that I have today about Trump, which we'll go through pretty quickly, is something that happened somewhat recently, where Trump was asked a question on Fox News, where people were basically Skyping in or Zooming in and asking them questions, asking the reporters as well as Trump questions. And the question was very, very interesting from this woman. She basically asked, and I'll read it verbatim, President Trump, my husband and I think you, your family, your staff, what is it? I thank you, your family, and your staff for your great dedication to our country. We pray for you every day. The question I have is about your manner of presentation. Why do you use descriptive words that could be classified as bullying? And why do you not directly answer the questions asked by the press, but instead speak of past successes and generally ramble? USA needs you. Please let go of these behaviors that are turning people away from you. Please hold on to your wonderful attributes that make you our great leader and let go of other characteristics that do not serve you. And characteristically, I'm sure you're not surprised at all, Trump responds by saying, I think I like that question. I'm not sure, but I think I like that question. They come at me with questions that are disgraceful, to be honest. Disgraceful. Their manner of presentation and their words, and I feel that if I was kind to them, I'd be walked off the stage. All of the things we've done, and yet we have a very hostile press. So I really appreciate the questions, and I very much appreciate the sentiment behind the question, but I'm standing up there, and instead of asking me a normal question, the level of anger and hatred, I'll look at them, I'll say, what's your problem? What is your problem? I would say, you're a terrible reporter. And so he's kind of like, I'm of course paraphrasing this article, just pulling out the quotes from Trump, but it's one of the wildest things because this lady set this question up so perfectly. She first appealed to Trump's ego by complimenting him and saying you're doing a great job, and then she gets to the nitty gritty, like, hey, why is it that you still have to do all that? You don't really need to attack the press. You don't need to attack the media. And what does Trump do? Trump does exactly what the lady was accusing him of doing, basically saying, oh, look at all my past accomplishments. I know what I'm doing. I'm so great. I don't get the recognition I deserve. The media is bad. The media is unfair. The media is not, talking about the good things that I'm doing, when the media's job is to hold the people in power to account. Holding people to account, holding their feet to the fire does not mean showering them with praise. And so I thought this was it's pretty much an epitome of Trump's relationship with the press. You have this one lady asking a question in a very proper context, and Trump simply cannot help himself. But I just wanted to get your take. Do you think this is classic Trump showing the confidence of a leader, or do you think this is a sign that, you know what, he's really not that bright, and this is the only way he knows how to do the presidency?
I think it is Trump trying to be charismatic and forgetting the question asked. Because the question was posed midway through her statements.
Right.
And then, she goes ahead and closes it up with praising him again.
Right.
And I think Trump was addressing that piece and sort of alluding to how he treats the media and why he treats the media as he does. It's classic Trump, man. It's classic Trump. And it's good. I mean, at least he didn't shut her down. But it reinforces what, the data that showcases what Trump does when asked questions that he doesn't want to answer. Rightfully so. I mean, sometimes we do our best to dodge things, and he's just, unlike us, in front of a damn camera all the time. And, everything he says and everything he does gets picked apart.
Okay.
Piece by piece.
Now, on that point, if I were to tell you that you're on camera and the world is watching, would you ever claim to have evidence for something that you really don't have evidence for?
Probably, depending on what the outcome is. No, honestly, it's like, if we're talking business, there's sometimes where you got to play chicken, and you have to, like poker, you got to bluff your way through certain situations.
That's fair. Bluffing, I can understand the value and the significance of bluffing. So in this particular other article that I found, this is, by the way, the first article, I should probably quote this for the fans that are totally confused. The first article was from The Independent by Andrew Naughty, interesting last name, from May 4th, 2020. And the one that I'm segueing to now is by David Knowles, the editor of Yahoo News, from April 30th, 2020. A little bit of an old article, I know. But basically, in this article, he was asked straight up if he had personally seen evidence that the virus originated in a laboratory at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And Trump said flat out, yes, I have. and then, of course, later on, the press, of course, is going to hold his feet to the fire. They go, they ask him for specific evidence that gave him confidence that the virus had come from a lab.
Sure.
And Trump said, I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I understand there's certain things as a administration that's protecting the United States and even the world to some aspect. You can't reveal your entire hand. You can't tell everything.
Sure.
But why do you have to tease everybody by saying, yes, I have seen evidence? Like, what does that accomplish?
Well, it reinforces his agenda. And for all we know, he may have seen evidence to it. There's certain things called classified documents that may have been given to him that point light towards these, conferences to educate him and to further increase his decision-making process with the best informed or the best data he can. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I'm speculating. Because, I think it was last week or the week before, they unclassified some UFO stuff where, they wouldn't say anything about or comment about prior.
Right.
I think Trump tends to have this almost similar to how he was in The Great Apprentice, this appeal to him as a star would have to give you just enough bait that makes you wanting a bite. And I think he still goes by the notion of all marketing is good marketing, where I think now, at least for me personally, that's not necessarily true. But hey, you know what, man? It takes some balls to do that, because you know how much debt we owe China?
Yeah, like so this is the thing that always I find mind-boggling. Like most of our national debt in terms of to other countries is to China. I think it might be about a quarter of our debt that's in other countries' hands is in China. And don't they have leverage in that regard? Like, they must have some kind of leverage, right?
Oh, of course they do. Of course they do. But, I mean, has a country ever filed for bankruptcy?
I was going to say something, but I should probably not. No, I don't think a country has officially filed for bankruptcy.
No, well,
but
something of that sort, right? And if there's
Sure.
nothing to give, and it doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, what's this ultimately going to end up? China's going to recall all the debt and try to collect it? What's the U.S. going to do? Nah, we're good. Let's get on a payment plan, and then not follow it. I don't know. That's well above our pay grades to solve.
True. But it is still within our pay grade to kind of analyze with very little information and be completely ignorant of the truth and just kind of formulate opinions on it, which is what we do every podcast.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think this is classic Trump, and he's selling his brand. He's on point in a weird way. He's on point here.
Hey, it's being authentic. Remember, this is the year of authenticity.
There you go.
He has been nothing but authentic for the past couple years now, if not all of his life.
Authentic. What do you mean by authentic? Is he's true to his nature of being a liar?
He has a core set of beliefs that he has not wavered from.
Or I would say a core lack of beliefs.
You know what, man? For supporting the red team, you're not sounding so red nowadays.
I know, I'm talking a lot of shit about my own team today, right? Well, it may bode poorly for me come Saturday.
Yeah, man, look at that. You know how to pronounce what is it? Huawei? Huawei. And you're talking about China holding their debt. Now you're talking shit about Trump. I don't know, man. This is not looking too good for you, buddy. You're not looking too good.
It's like the tables are turning. Like, I've been kind of doing some China bashing over the past couple of weeks. Not really. Shout out to China, by the way. I'm not trying to bash them. We need their money. But today, I feel like I'm almost defending China.
Jesus.
As if I've received an extra stimulus check from
man, it's
President Xi. But, I think we covered a lot of good content today. We kept the COVID-19 talk to a minimum. So you're welcome, audience, who have grown tiresome of our incessant talking about COVID-19. We hope you enjoyed the quotes by Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah.
And what was the last one by? Well, it was more of a thing by Banksy, right? The painting.
Sure.
And so I think Don did a fantastic job. Do let us know, people in the audience, if you enjoyed that segment. And, Don, any final words to close off the session?
Lock your cars, everybody. I had to live midstream because turns out a car was stolen right off our street.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
We probably should have kept that off the pod, but wow, that's real. That is real.
So that's something I got to go address right now.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, on that rather somber note, I guess everybody stay safe.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
Kids, hide your keys too.
Hide your cars. Keys. No,
yes.
Yeah.
Hide everything and stay safe out there. And as usual, we will catch you all on the Flibbity Flip.
Peace. I'm not gonna do the outro. I think everyone's tired of it. We'll get an outro eventually.
We'll get your outro there. That's right.
All right. Peace.